Hello, and welcome to another episode of Content Creators Unite, the show where we discuss all things content creation. So, if you want to learn how to grow your business using your blog, newsletters, books, and more, you're in the right place. I'm your host, John Clements, and our guest for today's episode is Eric Williams. Eric is the founder and CEO of Willity, which he started to help overwhelmed leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs get their businesses and lives back on track. Willity helps leaders streamline their workload so they're less stressed, enjoy their work more, and get back to what matters most inside and outside of work. So, Eric, welcome to the podcast.
John, so glad to be here and excited to talk to you about this today.
Yeah, me too. We'll get into that in just a second. But before we do, I gave the briefest of overviews of who you are, but I think our listeners want to know a little bit more. So, can you share with us just a little bit about your background and how you got into doing what it is you do?
Yeah, it's as with a lot of careers and journeys and expertise comes layered on a variety of things that I've done. But helping early in my career, helping to grow and scale teams, build out operations, really be able to hire, train, manage, build out systems to onboard a number of employees. And so those types of early experience have kind of snowballed through my career in terms of helping more, helping at a variety of levels. And one of the things that I have learned and developed about myself over the years is the recognition that a lot of people who are founders, CEOs of their companies, uh, sometimes struggle with the operational side of the business and how do they translate their vision, their passion into the tangible, actionable step by step. So, in a lot of my career, I was also essentially a number two execution partner to visionary leaders. And so, I'm bringing that also to my coaching and consulting business as well, essentially serving as that type of role, that type of advisor to help folks navigate that because it's just such a fundamental skill. A lot of the folks that I've worked with are so brilliant and they're bringing that brilliance to their work, except that they're frustrated and they don't know how to translate their ideas into reality. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about today in terms of systematizing and streamlining the work, operationalizing what you are bringing to the table so you can do it better and more at scale.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that especially because this is actually a topic that I have a lot of background in. Because before I do what I do now, I was actually in quality management for 15 years. So I have a lot of experience with systems and standardizing and processes. But what I found in dealing with people, especially in that line of work, is a lot of people I run into have maybe they're hesitant to want to adopt those because I mean they think, oh well, if I put a process in place, then that's going to kill my relationships, or that's going to stifle my creativity, right? It's going to put roadblocks when I just want to, do what I want to do. So I'm hoping you can share with us just a little bit about like the benefits of putting systems in place. And so like, for example, this is Content Creators Unite. So let's talk content creation. So what are the actual benefits of putting a content creation system in place?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And I think I want to step back and challenge the assumption, not that you're making this assumption, but you're making the argument for the sake of the question, because that's where a lot of folks are. And if you believe that systematizing your work is going to stifle your creativity, it will. Part of this is how you behave and act will influence what you can do with this. If you believe that instead, that your systems and your operations can help boost your creativity, give you more open space in your calendar to have kind of your blanket creativity deep dive into what you're doing, right? If you think about it that way, you're problem solving in a different way around how do you unlock more time and more space in your schedule for the deep creative work, for example, in this context. So that's what I wanted to just address early on is that if you believe that these things are going to get in your way, then they will, and you're not going to find a way around it. You need to shift your belief and expectation about what you can do and what this enables and empowers you to do. And then you're going to look for the solutions and why this is going to work, how this is going to work. Our brains are just primed to look for solutions, but we need the right lens to look at this through to say, this is a problem to solve, a challenge to solve. Let me go see how this fits in my own unique ecosystem of work. So in the realm of content creation, I know from personal experience, having been a business owner for many years now, and um, having done side hustles essentially through most of my career, as well as I would have different business ideas as well. So content creation can take a lot of time, right? It can easily take up the entirety of your time if you're trying to run your business, especially when you're early on and you don't know what's working, you don't know what's getting traction. You kind of want to throw everything against the wall. Even when you have some of it figured out, it can easily take up a lot of time if you don't have structure and process to walk yourself through this process um, in a methodical way. If you're just sitting down with an empty page, I mean, writers have this happen all the time as well. If writers and other creative professionals do have a lot of structure in their day, they know what works for them. They have a process, and sometimes if you talk to writers and other creative folks, they have a tremendous amount of very specific process things that they do through the day that they find help them, and that's to support them getting to their best state, into the zone, so that they can do their work most effectively. And it doesn't mean they're focused on just output, right? It's that they need their creative brain to be working in a particular way that they found to work. And that's really what we're talking about replicating when we're talking about what you want to get to in your content generation. Is what are you uniquely bringing to the table? Where do you need to spend the majority of your time? What do you need to bring? What of yourself do you need to bring to the table to get really the best outcome? And then what else, what's not that then that we can start to dissect and take apart and say, can we do this better? Do I really need to be doing this? But we can get into that in a little bit more detail where we're talking about, how do you translate this in a more mechanical, operational way?
Yeah, and I definitely want to get there. And I really appreciate you broadening that perspective of what it really means to systematize something, because that's can be such a cold word, like, oh, I'm just gonna, remove all humanity and and personality from it. But that's not really what you're doing. You're freeing up your time, your resources to focus on like what matters. Something that has always stuck with me is I think a system, I think of it being an acronym that stands for saves you stress, time, energy, and money. And that's always stuck in my head. Like anytime I think about it, oh, yep, I need to set, I need to make a system for that. So let's kind of dive in to the practical side of things. And if I came to you as maybe a fairly new entrepreneur or business owner, I said, okay, Eric, sold. I need to put a content creation system in place. I don't even know how to start. How would you even start that conversation with someone?
Yeah, I would work backwards in this particular context. I don't do this necessarily with all of the different things that can get systematized in a business, but I think in this context, I'd want to walk back from the ultimate goal, right? Content for the sake of content is, I don't know. I don't know what I want to say about it, but you want it to be in pursuit of a goal. You're doing it for a reason, for a particular outcome. And so, one of the things that I really look for early is, what data do we have to look at and understand how effective these things are? It's how we evaluate across the board what what uses of time are effective for the outcome you're looking for. Typically, in a business, you want to drive revenue, drive profit, right?
Yeah.
So, are these activities generating revenue? Are they not? How much are they? How much time are they taking versus not? If you're spending 5, 10 hours a week on a blog, and you have a couple of other content strategies, but let's say your blog is, if you look at the actual data of, are you having people coming into your website unsolicited? And, are you showing up on SEO? Are you bringing them in? Are they reading, spending time there? Are they then converting into whatever your conversion metric, whether that's, selling something, whether it's the affiliate links, or whether it's some kind of other, consulting or sales work, whatever that is. If you're tracking the numbers, I'm basically saying part of this is understand your numbers, know your numbers, because that's how you need to make decisions about what to do and what not to do. And there you can start to understand, where's your time going, right? So in this case of the blogs can be good. They can also be a tremendous uh, investment of time when they're not necessarily generating outcome, and so you might need to do something differently with it. But in this case, let's say the blog really wasn't converting into any clients or customers, but you just gotten into the habit of doing it, or you think you need to do it, and you're spending this time, you're investing this time. But if it's really not generating revenue on the back end, you need to look at it and say, is this working in my ecosystem of content? Is it adding, it could be that it's adding value indirectly, right? I don't want to say that there's not
Yeah, yeah.
here, but I'm basically saying, like, if you can tease out independently any of these content strategies, are they working, are they not? Then you can drop some. And that's one of typically when I work with business owners, the first thing that we do is start to look at what can we just totally take out or scale back drastically. And that's why I use this example, because if it's something that you're investing 5-10 hours a week on, that you can scale back to maybe doing it once a month or once a quarter, or something that you still want to test it, but it's not worth the time that you're putting in, then we do that. So that's where you take stuff out entirely on systematizing things. It could be that there's parts of the process that are taking a long time. It could be that you're sitting, in the case of a blog, um, you're sitting there with an open page for a long time before you're really able to get the ideas together. And that's where things like AI tools can be helpful. I know that in content creation, we could probably spend multiple podcasts talking about AI and content creation here, but there could be ways to support it, right? You can use tools to support your ideation, or it could be that you're systematizing, your topics so that you don't have to start with a blank page. You can just say, I'm going to go pick a topic and then just run with it. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to pick one at random and then run with it. And that might accelerate your time, like by an hour or two, for example, in terms of that sitting with that open page, right? So there's ways to think about, where are you getting stuck? Where is the time going? Where is where are you getting, where's the time going? Where are you getting stuck? Because that's what's going to clue you into what part of this process can I do better? Are there tools that can help? Is there a process piece that can help accelerate this, the way that I'm doing it? Is it the time of day that I need to shift? Maybe I'm a
Yes.
good writer at the end of the day, but I always do it first thing in the morning because someone told me I need to do the hardest thing first thing in the morning. It's like those types of things. So we really kind of need to dissect, where's the time going? Where are the roadblocks? What does this look like?
Yeah. You know what I love about, well, there's a couple things I love about your response. Number one, and this is something that I don't think a lot of people think about, but it's very powerful, is asking yourself, what can I stop doing?
Yeah.
I even did that when I was an employee before I, became an entrepreneur. If there was some busy work task, sometimes I would just forget to do it and see what happens. And if no one says anything, oh, well, okay. And if someone does say something, my boss comes to me, oh, I forgot that. Sorry. Now I know I need to do that. So maybe that's not the most ethical thing to do, but that's what I did. So to drop things, and then the other thing I like that you said is, I really like that you made this personal. This is not a one size fits all thing. You're not selling some, 5-step process that is just gonna just goes to everyone and good luck. Like, you're really sitting down with people and analyzing things and solving problems, which I think that's how you grow. That's how you become successful. For you to come along and partner with people in that, um, I think is amazing. So let's talk about a little bit. How can are there any tips or suggestions you could give about how do I decide, how do I look at my work and decide, is this something I need to systematize, or is this something I need to delegate, or is this something I need to automate? Like, are there any kind of high level questions that can help me understand how to approach these tasks?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, John, something interesting you said, because I think I may be sharing it as if there's not kind of process and structure behind that we're just kind of freewheeling
Right.
in terms of assessing the business. There's a lot of structure behind the scenes in terms of how we're thinking about it, how we're categorizing, how we're doing it. But that was something that struck me as you were sharing that, because but it is personal in terms of how you, as a unique individual, are managing your business, what you're excited about doing, where your best added value. Just because a CEO needs to do X, Y, and Z doesn't mean you have to do that. You may be able to find out in the topic of, what do you delegate? What do you systematize? What do you automate? We use a process called structured deconstruction where that's exactly it. We need to go in and evaluate what's going on, kind of take apart the engine, see where the problems are, see how it's running, see where we can find these efficiencies. We need to go systematically through that. But part of the lens is, what are your best value adds to the ecosystem, right? Because just because you CEOs are known to do it all, sometimes you need to. And I'm not saying that it's not difficult, that there's not a lot of things you need to push through, you need to do yourself before you can delegate to others. But at the same time, you don't need to live with it forever. And that's one of the places where I see entrepreneurs really get stuck, is dragging through a lot of things that they're not good at and they don't like to do, which means it's draining their energy. It's sucking up a lot of time. And when you really sit down and think about it, there's a very real possibility that some of these things can be delegated. And if you free up that, it's even if it's just a 1-for-1, not someone else can do it, same amount of time, same amount of cost, as if you were paying yourself. Those types of ideas, even if it's a 1-for-1 exchange, sometimes that 1-for-1 exchange of time or money to have somebody else do it frees up your stress and anxiety levels to a point where all of a sudden you're 2xing, 3xing, 5xing your output somewhere else, just because you have that, you don't have those pieces dragging you down.
Oh, so can you go into a little more detail about that one-to-one exchange idea? So are you suggesting like I'm gonna exchange a service for a service, or like what does that mean?
Oh, yeah, it's something we talk about. It's really like the delegation math, where you're trying to assess, is this something that I can delegate off my plate? Is somebody else, ideally, you're looking for someone who can do it better, faster than you, which
Yep.
likely means time and cost savings by delegating off yourself. As a business owner, even though you're not paying yourself an hourly wage, there's some aspect of this that's important to take a look at how much time you're putting in. Actually, let me back up to that, mapping out where your time's going. Are these revenue generating activities? How much are they helping you generate revenue? Um, and moving through this process. With that in mind, some of these activities, how many hours it takes, how much revenue it's generating, gives you an estimate of, or if you do profit instead, because that would actually be your take home, or if you take a salary out of your business, integrate that all, because it's all part of the um, same kind of financial contribution back to you. But per hour, how much you're making, right? You're not an hourly employee, but per hour, how much are these activities generating you? How much are you making? And then using that as some kind of a mathematical framework for, can you delegate this to someone else? Some people get stuck on delegating because, hey, I can do it in 1 hour, but it's going to take somebody else 3 hours, right? But if you're paying them a third of what you make, that's what I mean, a 1-for-1 exchange,
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
right? Because you're not saving money or time in this kind of in that kind of thing. You're paying them a third of what you make, but they're taking 3 times longer. So the math works out that it's kind of an even even trade of time or cost. Um, and so that's what I'm talking about. That sometimes you're going to pay someone more than what you would do yourself. And it's still a good time savings because you're able to reinvest your own time into something else that's higher value. Landing that new client, getting 10 more customers in the door. And that's going to be a better trade-off of your time than having somebody else do it. So I think since we're talking about what do you delegate, what do you systematize, what do you automate in your business, these are some of the questions you want to ask yourself. If I want to back out into, some of the bigger framework, is take a look. You need to do an inventory. This is what we do first off with all of our clients, is kind of do the inventory of everything that's going on in the business and in your personal time as a CEO. Right? It has to start with the CEO, the business owner. You need to fix yourself before you can fix the rest of your business. You need to free up your time so that you have time to fix these things in your business as well. So do that inventory, and then we need to go systematically through the business and see, are there opportunities to delegate this? Systematization and delegation really go hand in hand in my mind, because the other thing that I could talk about all day is a lot of entrepreneurs aren't necessarily good at delegating. If they figured out how to do it, that's usually when they grow. But if they're early on and still struggling, or can't find an employee they can rely on, or everything, the work always comes back to them, and they need to redo it anyway. These are symptoms of the challenge of needing to do this better and needing to do it well. But let's put that aside. That those are some leadership skill type of
Mhm.
things that we tackle as well. But those opportunities to delegate are things that are systematic and need someone to have an eye on it, someone to make some judgment calls about it, but there's still a process around it. Like everything you delegate should be stuff that you figured out how to do, needs a human eye to do it, a human eye to execute, but there should be those systematic processes that you're handing off to someone to do. So that's really the missing piece. If I'm going to keep it simple, that's the missing piece on delegation usually is systematizing the process, then delegating, not delegating and hope that they figure it out.
Yeah, and that's yeah, appreciate that because that's what I've learned in my own business is if you're going to delegate something, you need to know how it works. You need to understand it enough to be able to explain it to someone else in a way that they can succeed. And so I think that's a really good call. Is like for my own um, business, yeah, I'll start doing tasks, I'll figure it out, I'll document it, and then I'll get hold of my virtual assistant and say, hey, can you take this on for me? Or maybe I'll delegate something to my wife, who's my business partner, say, hey, can you do this for me?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when you think about it this way in terms of really needing to systematize the process and have a really good process around how you delegate, what you're communicating, what context are you giving them, what autonomy are you giving them to make their own decisions. This is all the kind of mental framework that you have to download from yourself, from your brain. But going through that process actually frequently, even when I do it, there's still I might back off and say, I need another like 5, 10 minutes, half hour to figure this out all of a sudden, because what I was initially if I don't go through that checklist about delegating, sometimes I realize there is a missing piece. It would have come back to me the next day as my assistant wasn't able to complete the task, right? Because if you have a process around how you're delegating stuff out, that it'll clarify where the gaps are. And so sometimes you do need to spend more time on to the delegation piece. Um, I know I wanted to get to automation as well, but that's
Yeah. So actually, we can talk about automation. So I guess my first question with automation is, in what sense are you using the word? Because I feel like, just me personally, that delegating and automating kind of also overlap. Because if
Yep.
I delegate something to my VA, I've in a sense automated it. But are you talking about that kind of automation, or are you more focused on like a tool or software process?
Yeah, yeah. I usually think about it in the context, just because we tackle this from 5 different dimensions. I usually
Hmm.
think about automation as the kind of tools and technology that can support you
Okay.
doing things better, faster, more accurately through the process. If you think about in the context of content generation, that's where AI tools can be tremendously helpful in terms of brainstorming. And I guess I'm trying to divorce this from having AI do the content entirely, which is that's why I think in this day and age there's a lot of other pieces of the puzzle. But even then, using tools like different AI bots, some are so good that a lot of AI tools are getting better than the average person, not better than you as an expert, and perhaps very good at writing for your particular niche, for your particular business. I'm not saying it's better than the best person. It's just usually better than the average person at this point.
Yeah.
Um, but there's ways to build in automation to the process and structure to the process where whether it's automated emails that are going out for follow up, things that you intend to do. And I think one of the points you made early on is people feeling like they're missing the personalization that happens by doing it by hand. And sometimes that's true. And sometimes that is not it. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's not true. And following up with people quickly in an automated way could be a reflection of you actually prioritizing them and getting them what they need, whether it's your client, your customer, or whatever it is. And so this is where that mental framing comes into place about how you're interpreting what's going on how you're automating different pieces. Because yeah, you could do it by hand. You could send, 100 different emails by hand. Do you need to? Maybe. Are there ways to put it into a spreadsheet and do, mail merge if you want some customization to go to folks. So those are the type of things to think about when they're, and this is why it's hard for me to get into what are the tools to use to do this, because it's kind of situation dependent. I've had
Yeah.
clients even save, go from a 200-hour staff hour project uh, to a 20-hour project, just by kind of re-envisioning what they were doing with this project and using some of like Adobe. I
Mhm.
forget what the kind of high level Adobe subscription is, but whatever it is, like they were like, this is actually structurally the problem that we're having in this process that's taking so long to do this project. And so we looked at a variety of tools, figured out, hey, this is actually not that complicated. It's like a, you know, whatever, $50 a month subscription, but it's going to save you 180 hours of work. Right. So it really depends on what you're trying to solve. And this is why when I go back to this is not a one size fits all. It's not like there's one, there's 100 different productivity tools. Start with the inventory of what's going on in your business, go line by line, and think about, how can I solve this? Is this something that I need to take out of my schedule entirely? Do I need to batch it? Am I moving too quickly between tasks and I need to batch these things together to do all of one type of work, one time of the day, one time of the week? Are there opportunities to systematize this so I don't have to come back and re-envision how this works every time I do this, so that I can delegate it to someone as number 4 in this list? Are there opportunities to automate this to make it more accurate and be done quicker? Um, and so that's how we think about these five stages of, really doing the inventory and assessment of your business and what's going on with your time.
Yeah, I love that, because I think you strike a really good balance between, again, as we've been talking about, having the systems and processes and structures in place, but also having nuance about those. And I don't know about you, but I feel like we need more nuance in our society than we're getting right now. So that's kind of like a breath of fresh air for me to have this conversation, because, like, okay, Eric gets it. He understands what we're doing here, and so that's really cool. Um, but in the remaining time we have, I want to kind of shift gears a little bit, because as much as I could talk about processes and systems all day, which I could, I also want to get to know you a little bit better, and I think our listeners do too. So I'm going to assume that you're practicing what you preach, and you have some free time built into your day because you've systematized and automated, delegated. So when you're not working, what do you love to do?
Yeah. Well, I have 2 small children, so this is, I
So in your
when you set
15
up
minutes
this
a week,
question, I was thinking about uh, where my time goes, and that feels like where the majority of my time goes. But I do like to get out camping, hiking, um, get outdoors, go for bike rides in my free time. It's winter here at this particular when we're recording, so not quite too many activities to do. Um, but things like that, I have. I have free time in my schedule. I love working with clients as well. This is a passion of mine. So it doesn't, some parts of my business feel like work, of course, but a lot of it doesn't, because I really enjoy the work that we're doing.
nice. And my kids are older now, so I do have actual chunks of free time in my life again. But boy, I remember those days, and it's tough. So, like I said, what do you do in your 15 minutes of free time every week? It's like,
Yeah.
it's mainly just sit there.
Yeah.
But I love that you love camping and getting outside, hiking. I love doing all those things as well. It's a great way to divorce, kind of disconnect from the screens. So that's amazing.
Yeah. Especially for
Um,
those of us who are on the computer nonstop, whether it's, podcasts or Zoom meetings, I have clients all over the country. So it's a lot of time in front of the computer.
yeah, me as well. Probably too much time. So I do want to ask a follow-up question, and that is something I ask all my guests. One of my favorite questions. What's a piece of wisdom or like a life lesson that you've learned in your journey that you could share with our audience to just help them grow as a person?
Yeah. It's related to this area of business as well. But I think what I found to be among the most important, because we're talking about systems and process, which can feel like it's going to take the side. I don't know. It's gonna take a back seat to other things that are pressing in your business, driving revenue and things. It is all essentially tied to getting your business more efficient, getting you more time, to reinvest in driving revenue. But at the end of that's not really what I want to share. What I want to share is the idea that the stress and overwhelm and stuff that you're feeling in your business, that has real world implications and outcomes as well. And that's what I found to be really, at the end of the day, the decision that you need to make is, are you living the life that you want? Are you frustrated with what you're currently dealing with in your business? Does it feel like a mess? Does it feel like you're overwhelmed in it? That can have really strong implications to the health of your marriage, your relationship with your kids, your physical health. If you're not building that time into your schedule, if you don't feel like you have that time, or you're working 60, 80, 100 hours a week. And so that's usually when I think about life lessons, that's usually what I think about or reflect on, is just that for folks who are overwhelmed in their business, that they're struggling, think about whether you're willing to live with those other consequences of this. It's not just isolated to your business. How much are you willing to risk and continue on if you have bad habits, if you haven't really gotten your business organized and streamlined? Are you willing to live with that? Are you willing to live with the consequences of it? Are you ready to just make a decision to get this stuff done and to get this fixed? Because if you are, then that's really where that's kind of the galvanizing piece that you're going to need to move through some of these difficult conversations and difficult solutions to your business, because you do need to go through this growth phase to get your business kind of straightened out and on track.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're, this business is supposed to be for us. It's not supposed to be the other way around. So I love that perspective. Eric, I love the value you've given today of here's how you think about streamlining your business in a way that works for you, in a way that is going to help your business grow and help you personally, live a better life. So for the people who are saying, yeah, that's exactly what I want, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, the best way is if you want to learn more, I have a class on my website at willity.com/watch. That's really the best place to get started. If you watch that and want to talk further, there's a way to get connected, and we can block out some time and talk about what this means for you, help make a game plan for exactly how to put these practices in place in your business. So really going to my website's the best place to just plug in. If you want to take action, if you want to learn more, go to willity.com.
Great. And we'll have that link in the show notes, so you can just go right down there and click on it and be on your way and get in contact with Eric. Eric, man, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, John. That was great.
You bet. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed our discussion today, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. I go out and find the best experts in the content creation space that I can. Like Eric, I get them to share their secrets so you can grow your business and live a better life. So with that, have a great day, and we'll see you next time on the Content Creators Unite podcast.